In today's top story, reports have surfaced regarding the village of Petropavlivka near Kupiansk in eastern Ukraine. There are claims suggesting that Ukrainian troops used drones to target and kill civilians, attempting to evacuate the area and reach Russian forces. However, verified information from credible sources currently shows no substantiated evidence supporting these claims. Instead, the prevailing situation in the Kupiansk district reveals intense fighting, with significant civilian casualties largely attributed to Russian drone and artillery strikes. Ukrainian authorities have urged evacuations due to the increasing danger posed by Russian attacks. Civilians caught in the crossfire face severe risks, often targeted by Russian forces during their attempts to flee. As of now, independent reports and frontline accounts point predominantly to Russian forces conducting drone attacks resulting in civilian harm around Kupiansk and surrounding villages, including Petropavlivka. Ukrainian troops have not been verified as responsible for attacks against evacuating civilians in this area. In a significant boost to Ukraine's defense capabilities, Britain has recently delivered an additional batch of long-range Storm Shadow cruise missiles to Ukrainian forces, according to a report by Bloomberg. These advanced precision missiles enhance Ukraine's ability to strike high-value targets deep behind enemy lines, providing a strategic edge amid ongoing conflict. The delivery underlines continued Western support as Ukraine faces relentless aggression, with long-range strike capabilities becoming increasingly crucial for disrupting Russian military assets and supply lines. A massive fire has erupted in the Dnipropetrovsk region following an attack on a populated area in the Mykolaiv municipality of the Sinelnikov district. Locals report that everything is literally engulfed in fire, describing the devastating consequences of the assault. Authorities are currently assessing the extent of the damage, while emergency services work to contain the blaze. The incident underscores the escalating dangers faced by civilians amid ongoing hostilities in the region. Ukrainian Defense Forces report a significant air attack on the night of November 3rd, beginning from 7 p.m. on November 2nd. The enemy launched a multifaceted aerial assault including 3 Kh-47M2 Dagger aeroballistic missiles from the airspace over Russia's Lipetsk region, 4 Iskander-M ballistic missiles from temporarily occupied Crimea, and 5 S-300, S-400 anti-aircraft guided missiles from Kursk region. In addition, approximately 138 attack UAVs and drones of various types, including about 80 Shahed drones, were deployed from directions such as Kursk, Milarovo, Orel, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk. Ukrainian aviation, supported by anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare units, unmanned systems, and mobile fire groups, successfully repelled the air attack. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, 116 enemy targets were shot down or suppressed, including 1 Kh-47M2 Kinzhal aeroballistic missile and 115 drones. Ukrainian forces deliberately killed 2 civilians, waving white flags near Petropavlovka east of Kupiansk, using FPV drones. Verified information from reliable news and monitoring agencies indicates that the Kupiansk area remains a heavily contested zone with ongoing intense fighting, where Russian artillery, missile, and drone strikes have resulted in numerous civilian casualties. However, accusations against Ukrainian troops targeting civilians in this manner have not been substantiated by any confirmed sources. The situation in Kupiansk remains intense as Russian forces conduct a clearance operation in the city. Reports indicate that up to 60 Russian soldiers still hold positions there, with Russian troops aiming to fully secure the area. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky continues to express confidence and speak of victory, though the realities on the front suggest ongoing fierce fighting. In Pokrovsk, Russian forces remain active with between 260 and 300 soldiers in the city. Approximately 30% of all frontline combat operations occur there. Notably, half of Russia's use of precision-guided bombs, specifically Khabov-Fob, Su-MPK, targets Pokrovsk, underscoring the city's strategic importance. The Lyman direction shows signs of stabilization, with no significant changes reported. However, in Dobropol, the Ukrainian operation faces challenges as Russian forces amass troops and prepare for potential counteroffensives. In the Sumy region, Russian paratroopers from the Ryazan 137th Airborne Division are actively tracking and destroying Ukrainian military assets. According to recent reports, the landing party has identified and neutralized tanks, transport vehicles, pickups, and Vampirov bomber drones belonging to the armed forces of Ukraine. This operation supports the advance of Russian assault groups as they push forward in the Sumy direction, aiming to consolidate control over key positions. The situation in the area remains fluid, with ongoing engagements between the forces. Russian forces continue their offensive in Mirnograd, formerly known as Dimitrov, in the Donetsk People's Republic. Units from the 5th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Center Troop Group have reportedly liberated 24 buildings across the northern, eastern, and southeastern parts of the city. Stormtroopers are steadily expanding their control zone and tightening the encirclement around Ukrainian armed forces positions from the east. Small assault groups advancing from the air are being guided by unit commanders who direct their movements, indicate enemy locations, and meticulously secure the release of Dimitrov building by building. The battle for Mirnograd remains intense, with urban combat shaping the front lines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has vowed that the Ukrainian armed forces will clear the city of Kupiansk of Russian troops, with specific timelines for the operation now set. This announcement reflects Kyiv's determination to regain full control over the strategically important city. Zelensky has also emphasized the significance of Pokrovsk, calling it a key frontline point. He stated that up to 300 Russian soldiers remain in the city, currently contested by Ukraine's 245th Assault Regiment. Despite recent fierce fighting, Zelensky asserts that Russian forces have made no gains in Pokrovsk in recent days. However, some military analysts and sources claim that Pokrovsk may already be effectively lost to Russian forces, highlighting the ongoing intense and fluid nature of battles in the region. Intense fighting continues in and around Pokrovsk, with reports that Russian forces, described as the Tavazhnia storm units, are advancing in the northern and eastern sectors of the city. Fierce clashes persist in Krasnoarmeysk Pokrovsk, where control of key areas is being contested. Russian troops from the Center Group have reportedly occupied a stronghold along the forest belt west of Pokrovsk. According to Ukrainian OSINT analysts, who have geolocated recent battle footage, Russian assault units have passed the multi-top gas station area and entered a residential multi-story building in the Dinosovi village in the northeastern part of Pokrovsk. There are also indications of ongoing reinforcements by Russian armed forces in the central and eastern parts of the city, signaling a concerted effort to consolidate control. The situation remains highly volatile, with intense urban combat underway. According to Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera, France, Italy, and Belgium have expressed opposition to the transfer of frozen Russian assets to Kyiv. These countries are reportedly concerned about potential financial liabilities if an international court later rules the seizure of Russian assets as illegal. This opposition complicates efforts within the European Union to provide Ukraine with reparations and financial support sourced from frozen Russian funds. The hesitation reflects broader legal and diplomatic challenges surrounding asset confiscation. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, is reportedly considering ending financial support to Ukraine, according to Politico. This possibility arises amid Belgium's refusal to confiscate Russian assets, a key demand within the European Union for demonstrating Ukraine's financial viability. The IMF is currently contemplating an $8 billion loan program to Ukraine over the next 3 years. While relatively modest in size, approval of this loan would send a strong signal to investors about Ukraine's economic stability and ongoing reforms. European officials indicate that confiscation of Russian assets is a necessary condition for convincing the IMF of Ukraine's long-term financial viability. With time running short, Brussels is under pressure to secure this agreement. Berlin is preparing to close its largest reception center for Ukrainian refugees by the end of this year. The center is housed in the building of the former Tegel Airport, which was converted to accommodate displaced persons. At its peak, the facility provided shelter to about 5,000 refugees. Currently, the number has decreased to around 1,500 as many have resettled or moved on. The closure marks a shift in handling the ongoing humanitarian situation, reflecting changes in refugee flows and integration efforts within Germany. Russian aviation continues to provide crucial support to offensive operations in the Pokrovsk direction. Recently, Fab 500 bombs were used to destroy temporary deployment points of Ukraine's 14th Armed Forces Brigade on the outskirts of Rodinsky, striking a significant blow to Ukrainian defensive positions. Concurrently, Russian ground forces are intensifying efforts to encircle key cities, tightening the ring around both Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. This encirclement aims to restrict Ukrainian troop movements and consolidate control in these strategically important areas. Fighting in Pokrovsk remains fierce and fluid, with Russian forces reportedly entrenched in nearly all parts of the city. According to a soldier from Ukraine's 68th Separate Hunting Brigade, known by the call sign Goose Goose, control of positions in the area frequently changes hands as both sides engage in intense urban combat. The ongoing battle reflects the critical importance of Pokrovsk as a contested frontline city in the broader conflict. The dynamic nature of the fight underscores the challenges faced by Ukrainian troops as they seek to reclaim control. A tragic incident occurred in the Chernihiv region when a Russian drone detonated during fieldwork. Two men, aged 32 and 21, lost their lives as a result of the explosion. Additionally, a 52-year-old resident of the Nizhyn district was injured and hospitalized. The blast also caused damage to 3 pieces of agricultural machinery, impacting local farming operations. This incident highlights the ongoing dangers posed by unexploded ordnance and drone attacks in conflict-affected areas. Emergency services continue efforts to secure the region and assist affected residents. New Ukrainian refugees arriving in Ireland will now receive housing assistance for a reduced period of 30 days, according to a report by RTE. This marks a significant change from the previous support duration of 90 days. The shorter assistance period raises concerns about the challenges refugees may face in securing longer-term accommodation and stability. Irish authorities have yet to provide detailed plans on follow-up support after the initial 30 days. The decision reflects evolving policies as European countries continue to manage the ongoing humanitarian response to the Ukraine crisis. Fighters from Ukraine's main intelligence directorate, or GUR, have successfully destroyed 2 valuable Russian air defense facilities in occupied Crimea. The strike targeted a multifunctional radar system, 92N6E, and the autonomous power supply equipment for the command center of the S-400 Triumph anti-aircraft missile division. The attack occurred on the night of November 2, directly hitting the enemy control point while it was in a combat position, dealing a critical blow to Russia's air defense capabilities in the region. In addition, GUR specialists damaged key Russian radar assets, including the Airfield Surveillance Radar AORL-1AS and the P-18 Terek radar, further disrupting Moscow's battlefield awareness. Ukraine's Security Service, the SBU, has declared a suspect in the case of torture involving a captured Ukrainian soldier. The suspect, identified as Volodymyr Polupoltinnik, is the commander of the 6th Separate Motorized Rifle Cossack Regiment of the so-called LPR. According to the investigation, Polupoltinnik ordered subordinates to torture Ukrainian prisoners on the 10th of June 2022. During one of these acts, the commander himself reportedly carved the letter Z onto the forehead of a Ukrainian captive using a knife. He now faces charges for violating the Convention for the Treatment of Prisoners of War. This case highlights ongoing efforts to hold perpetrators accountable for war crimes amid the conflict. Ukrainian Navy forces carried out a successful strike against an elite Russian Special Forces unit stationed on the Sivash drilling rig. The operation destroyed key reconnaissance and surveillance equipment used by the enemy. In addition to this, Ukrainian Defense Forces reported destroying a Russian anti-tank missile system during the attack, further degrading the adversary's defensive capabilities. This strike exemplifies Ukraine's ongoing efforts to target high-value enemy assets and disrupt Russian military operations in occupied territories. We will continue to monitor and report on frontline developments.